Hello, and welcome to the Argyle AI ML Technology Leadership Summit. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I run things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat, and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker, George Roth, Technology Evangelist, UiPath. We're excited to have George with us for a thought leadership presentation titled Leveraging Generative AI, such as ChatGPT, in Automation Development and Design. Welcome, George. Over to you.
Hello, everybody. It's a great pleasure being here, and I have this privilege to talk about the hottest theme in the world right now. So it's really exciting. I'm really excited to talk about it, and I hope you will get interesting information up to date. I mean, at this point, the information is changing on a daily basis. So I updated my presentation even this morning, adding some stuff to it. So you can follow the lots of information which comes every day on every channel possible. So the first thing I want to highlight that we all live through this AI revolution right now. And this is equivalent, in my opinion, to the same revolution that the internet created. It's a moment in the technology history that will have a huge impact, not only in technology, but will have a huge impact for humanity in the future. And I just show you this graph to see, we are talking about these models which are these tools basically which allow to create this general AI. We try to make the AI to behave like a human. And this is done, and you'll see in time, the models became bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is nice to see here, but in the same time, because technology enables that, but in the same time, I don't think this will be the trend in the future, because these models look so big and so on, but it's very expensive to deal with them. And only a few companies have the privilege to have enough money in order to deal with these big models. And you can see here, the model size is defined by two things. So one is the training data size, which is measured in tokens, which are parts of the world, the words. And then you have the number of parameters, which are number of the things that the model can learn on. And you'll see that this is an interesting statistics that basically you can, basically the BERT, which is the model of Google, has 3.7 billion, and now the GPT-4 has other numbers. But you will see soon will be another trend to try to reduce the size of this model. Now, the technologies involved in this are lots of technologies, and they have to do with this learning concept, and they are used in certain contexts. For example, the learning, which is was most popular, was the learning when the human teaches the machine about certain things. And that's why you have this labeling process where a human takes, let's assume, some images or some documents and starts to put labels on certain pieces of information on it. And in this way, loading a lot of examples, the machine will learn. Just for those who are not very familiar what a model is inside, model inside is nothing else but the code written by a computer in certain language, mostly Python. So it's before these type of things, the humans wrote programs in order to implement certain rules to extract data or to interpret an image. But now, through this process of labeling, you basically let the computer to write the code for you. So the supervised learning, you have a human involved there. The unsupervised learning is different when you don't need a human. The computer has an accumulated knowledge in it, and through that knows to start extracting different type of information and interpret different type of content. Then later you have this reinforcement learning when you try to teach the model new stuff, and you come with the general model, which are called sometimes foundational models, like I would call it common sense. And foundational model it's called because it's like the foundation of a house. So you know a lot of stuff, but in the same time, the house is not livable until you put something which is specific to your needs. So for that, a technique is called reinforcement learning, which basically brings in, let's assume, experts who teach the system something specific to a certain domain. Anyhow, I just put this, you can look at this, the ChatGPT, which created this big buzz, this basically is just a little piece of it. And this generative AI, which became mainstream right now, is the big thing. So the generative AI is the AI when the AI actually creates something new from the information and from the knowledge accumulated through these processes of learning, supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learning, and many, many other stuff. This is pretty confusing, but just to know, I put this, you can check this. It is to see this, how big domain is. But thank God for most of the users of AI, these are black boxes. You have to know what it is, so it's a human or not. And in the same time, you will be exposed to the cost of these things, because sometimes this can become very expensive. I showed this is a VC's view, one of the VC's view of what's going on in the world. It's a tremendous money being given to these companies like OpenAI, which comes up as the biggest name there in the LLMs. LLMs means large language models, these huge things which are trained. For example, OpenAI took the whole internet, everything was internet, and just created a huge model from it. And they got $11 billion investment. Anthropic, it's another company, got 1.2 billion. The interesting thing, and then you see these layers are interesting, because down there you have the companies, the big companies who can afford to basically deal with this huge technology. These technologies require a lot of computing power. And you will see the producers of the hardware itself, and then you see the cloud companies. For the cloud companies, this AI was fantastic. That's why they are pushing the AI so much, because the cloud companies, how I call it, they act like a cab business. So basically, more people they are paid by time and by the resource. No, if you want a bigger cab and you will use it by distance for a longer trip, you will pay more. And that's their business. They want to attract different users, which will use technologies which are very resource extensive, and to use them. And that's why you see associations between software companies and these big cloud vendors like Microsoft invested $10 billion in OpenAI and Google invested billions in Anthropic. Why? Because they want to attract users on their clouds. You'll see then the enablement layer up there, which is very interesting. These are companies who create the infrastructure that will allow enterprises to use this type of technologies in their environment. And I will talk about one of these things, which I think will be the LangChain. I will talk a little bit later. Then you have the applications where you go in a certain domain. So tons of companies who start to solve a certain problem. And then you have the full stack companies who do everything you will see on the left. I personally believe that there is a bubble here too, which basically people are throwing a lot of money. And I don't think still the monetization of the AI is still something which is solved, because in this appears the tremendous cost of training these models too and labeling, which are problems that will have to be solved in the future. This, I just want to show you how these companies, the LLM companies, and each one has its own model, are associated with these cloud vendors. And they have all these different things, and they associate exactly to be able to afford the cost of these technologies. Another big thing which this technology brought up, and it's basically the fact that these generative AI technologies are very nice for consumers. So it's a nice entertainment. Anybody goes to ChatGPT and starts writing poems for the wife or for the husband or for the friend, or do fun stuff. But when you go in the enterprise world, you need a certain precision. And one of the big thing, I saw the question I will talk about right now, is basically what happens is you can't rely exactly on the answer. Like, for example, in ChatGPT, you go in, the data was trained, I don't know, was stopped training end of last year. And that's why, and not only that, these AI systems are trained in a way that if they don't know the answer to a question, it's like in sales, if they ask you a question and you have the tendency to make up an answer. So they call this the hallucination of these companies, which these LLMs in the generative AI systems, because they try to make up responses which are actually not real, but they sound real. So that's why you see, if you want to use AI, for example, to generate transactions in a bank or in any other domain, to start a machine, let's say to turn on some machine in a manufacturing plant, you cannot rely strictly on this AI. You need to have a very high degree of precision. And that's why we will talk about trustworthy AI. So hopefully I answered the question too. And because we got here, this is the big buzzword. As for it will be a lot and you'll see all what's going on in the world right now with Elon Musk, who did another great marketing move, said, let's stop the AI until we really define this trusted, what is a trusted generative AI. And he basically then announced he creates a company who will do that. But anyhow, this is a very important thing. And in order in an enterprise to be able to use generative AI for different applications and different end-to-end business processes, you have to go after this. For example, in companies, I'm sure you saw examples when the legal department sent out messages, so don't upload in ChatGPT stuff. which are proprietary stuff because they don't ensure the security, PII information. You will not start putting in ChatGPT information about one of your clients or one of your products. And you saw what's going on for big companies. Samsung got in trouble and many others. That's why in Italy, was the first measure of the Italian government to prohibit the use of OpenAI, ChatGPT, until they will come out with the legislation. And the US also announced that they will come out with the legislation. Responsible AI, it's the other word which is used, and this is related to what Elon Musk did now when he came out with this list and all these people who said, no, stop AI because we will destroy humanity. I don't think it's possible to do it in that way. Obvious legislation will be built and will come out very soon, which will come out with some rules which are will say, for example, what you are not allowed to do with technologies. And here I saw something really cool, which I think this is the future. I wrote about this too, is the fact that company Anthropic in San Francisco basically came out with this idea of constitutional AI, which is really interesting. So to translate this, let's assume you are a company who are doing something with AI or providing a tool that people can use it to do something with it. And then you come out with a set of rules and say, you cannot do anything that will harm a child. You cannot do anything that will create some device which can create harm to humans. So you put a set of rules like this. Now, if you enforce this through humans, so if it's a law that has to be respected and you have legal people supervising the compliance to these rules, then it's very hard to verify. And in my opinion, this constitutional AI is actually about a technology. If you are so smart to create this generative AI that you act like a human, you are smart enough to create a system which will be able to supervise that you are not going against one of the rules, which are part of the rules that you put a user to sign when starts to use your technology. I saw the question of the cost. I will come back to the cost in very soon. Yes, absolutely. Initially that was, but now you have models and all kinds of technologies which make it easy. Like, for example, Hugging Face. We'll talk about them more. It's an open source infrastructure and which created technologies that they claim that it costs you $700 to train one of $700 to train. So the answer is yes. This is called the democratization of LLM, which is a huge trend, and you will see more and more companies coming out with cheaper and cheaper way to use this. Depends on the company and how much data you have. Also, I put there some links, so you'll find a lot of links through this presentation. So if you are interested in this domain, you will be able to read more. And I put there two companies, Fiddler AI and Arthur AI. These are two companies, for example, which got serious financing to deal with responsible AI and trustworthy AI. Now, this is related to the question of the cost too. So in order to get one of these huge models, you have to do two things. One is to fine-tune it. What's a fine-tuning? The fine-tuning means if I go to ChatGPT and I am a manufacturing company and I have all my materials and the description of my product and all these things in my own databases, no? Then it's no way that ChatGPT will know about how my product works, because hopefully they didn't have access to the enterprise data to train their model. And then basically what you have to do to be a way to connect the general AI, the big model, which is, let's assume, like common sense, to connect it with your specific data and also the knowledge of your expert. So basically what happens, you have technologies to be able to train your own model, and the second is called distillation, which means that you have to reduce the size. Here you will see a lot of interesting examples which will allow you to do that. Now, interesting for looking at the adoption of AI by industry, you'll see insurance I recommend you this scale.com report. You have the name of the report there. You'll see interesting data, 2023. And you see insurance is one of the leading industries, verticals in this technology. Now about UiPath. UiPath, it's we like to call it, it's the AI-powered automation platform. And what we do, we have this automation platform which has 3 layers. So you have tools to discover things in your enterprise, to know how to automate. Then you have tools which allows you to develop even local democratized development, and also give you the infrastructure to manage the automation. And then you have tools, you have the whole layer to allows you to operate in an enterprise environment. So we have AI all over is used in every of these 3 layers of the platform. So we can be considered a platform that allows you to deploy AI in the enterprise. And the beauty of it, you don't have to invest something huge. You can start with small steps, one by one, follow the return on investment, and then based on success, go more and more. And the use of AI is done to become, and I think one of my colleagues says, it will become an invisible AI. You will never know that you will use AI. You will see only the results. And here you will see also we are doing this to discover opportunities in the processes. We have different components for communications, for processes. Also, we can put the AI to study what our employees are doing on a desktop. That's called task mining. Obviously, you can remove certain sites. When they go on Facebook, you don't want to see what they are doing on Facebook, but you look only to the interaction with different applications and find out how can you create that. Then you have different, the usage of AI has these 3 important properties, and our platform offers the best framework for this. It has to be open. That means that we have components which allow the usage with built-in AI. It's actually almost it's invisible for the users. They basically will use the AI center. It's a place where you manage your models. The document understanding is the platform where you extract data from different type of documents. You have task mining, which I said you study what the employees do and generate automation for processes which are happening on a desktop. Communication mining, the new kid on the block, is basically taking emails, extracting intent of the customer. So for example, in banking, when customers require, please change my address, or please change my basically, I want to increase the credit limit. And then the AI goes in, it's based on an LLM. We have something called active learning, which is an alternative to reinforcement learning, which allows an SME to train the system to understand these emails and basically to create actionable emails, create transactions from the emails in order to implement the intent of the customer. You can find out the sentiment. Obvious, the flexibility of our AI consists of the fact that you can actually implement processes which use multiple types of AI. It's invisible to you. So here it's the communications mining combined with document understanding. So if an email has a attachment, you can basically take, let's assume in insurance, a claim processing, you can go in, extract the data from the claim, and then you basically generate a transaction and you use OpenAI or Azure OpenAI, which is the protected, the enterprise quality OpenAI, in order to generate a personalized email. And obvious, always you have human in the loop. So for all these processes, human is essential. And our platform offers the infrastructure in order to generate work queues for people which will need to approve. So if you generate a payment transaction, you don't want to go out and send $10,000 without somebody reviewing it. Obvious, this is the big thing, the security, compliance, and governance. This is the guardrails that you implement in your systems, and UiPath is offering some of those. And this domain is still emerging a lot. Basically, you have to put all these guardrails, and here it goes everything what we talk about. Trustworthy AI and also responsible AI, which will become mandatory for companies when they're using this technology. Here you can see that UiPath offers you the whole framework to operationalize the AI. And on the right, you see all the models that we integrate. We basically integrate with any other models. We have something called the integration service, which is an enterprise grade platform which allows you to integrate with all the systems. You have all these processing that we talked about, task mining, communications mining. You have bring your own model possibility, so you can get models from somewhere else and bring them in. And all this is put in a platform that can be very easy to be used by the user. So here it shows you where generative AI goes in support use case, and you'll see the answer is the generative part is when you create something like it's an email or a response to a customer which is specialized. It's not a template based, it's based on the specific case. And some use cases. Here you have a link where you can go and see a lot of use cases. I give you a few links of blogs that I wrote where you'll find tons of use cases. You have use cases for developers, and you have use cases for business applications. We have blogs, use cases for every industry. And then basically, I gave you a few examples here for an insurance use case, like, for example, the benefit design. You can use generative AI for this. And the policy comparisons for insurance. I took this because insurance is the #1 industry, but we can have a follow-up on this. You can contact me anytime if you want, and you have certain challenges in certain industries. We have a lot of use cases. Here you have some links where you can find use cases, interesting use cases, and stuff that I wrote about LLMs and also responsible AI. You have some terms if you want to have a small glossary, and that is basically it. I have 1 minute, and has any ideas about education was not on the top. Yes, I mean, that is explainable in the fact that unfortunately education doesn't have enough money to afford, but I am sure that through the academic system the education will come up very fast and will be used in education, not to allow students to write their essays, but much more important applications into it. Thank you very much. And I want to consider this as an open dialogue, and feel free to contact me directly. And any questions you have, I'll be happy to respond.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you again, George, for such an incredible thought leadership presentation. I also want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. Thanks again, everybody.